The morning sun had barely risen over Rockefeller Plaza when the Today Show studio buzzed with its usual energy of smiles, coffee, and the familiar rhythm of live television. Craig Melvin, the charismatic co-anchor known for his calm demeanor and sharp wit, sat poised in the iconic chair, ready to welcome one of the biggest names in music and daytime TV, Kelly Clarkson. Fans had been buzzing for weeks about this interview. Kelly, fresh off another season of her own hit talk show, was promoting new music, sharing personal stories, and perhaps addressing the swirling rumors about her future in the industry. Little did anyone know that what started as a friendly chat would spiral into one of the most shocking moments in recent morning TV history. As the cameras rolled, Craig began with his signature warmth, complimenting Kelly on her resilience, her powerhouse vocals, and her ability to connect with audiences worldwide. Kelly responded graciously, laughing about her journey from American Idol to global stardom, but beneath the pleasantries, tension simmered. Craig, perhaps drawing from recent tabloid whispers about behind-the-scenes struggles on The Kelly Clarkson Show, reports of scheduling conflicts, crew tensions, and even speculation about her stepping away, gently steered the conversation toward her work-life balance. "Kelly, you've been juggling so much: your show, your music, your family. How do you keep it all together without burning out?" he asked innocently. Kelly's smile tightened ever so slightly, her eyes flashing with something deeper than mere fatigue. She answered thoughtfully at first, talking about therapy, self-care, and the importance of boundaries. But as Craig pressed further, referencing anonymous sources who claimed she was overwhelmed and hinting at replacement rumors involving other NBC personalities, the atmosphere shifted. Viewers at home sensed the subtle edge in her voice, the way her posture straightened. This wasn't just an interview anymore, it was a minefield. Craig, trying to keep things light, joked about how tough daytime TV could be, but Kelly wasn't laughing. Her responses grew shorter, more pointed, as if every question was poking at an open wound. The studio lights felt hotter, the audience quieter. What began as professional curiosity was now teetering on personal intrusion, and Kelly Clarkson, the woman who had always worn her heart on her sleeve, was about to reach her breaking point. The moment everyone would talk about for months was just seconds away, hidden behind the polite facade of morning television. As the segment progressed, the conversation delved into more sensitive territory. Craig, ever the journalist, brought up the ongoing speculation about Kelly's contract and the whispers that NBC might be eyeing someone else for her time slot, perhaps even a familiar face from the Today family itself. He framed it carefully, saying, "There are always rumors in this business, Kelly. How do you handle the noise when people question your staying power?" Kelly paused, her fingers drumming lightly on the armrest, a telltale sign of rising frustration. She responded with her trademark honesty, admitting that the industry could be brutal, that she'd faced criticism her entire career, from her weight to her divorce to her vocal style. But then she turned the tables. "Craig, you know how it feels to be under the microscope every day. Why do you think it's okay to keep pushing when someone says they're good?" The words hung in the air like a challenge. Craig, caught off guard, tried to pivot back to her music, asking about her latest album, but Kelly wasn't done. She leaned forward, her voice gaining intensity, explaining how exhausting it was to constantly defend her choices, her mental health struggles, and her right to privacy. "I've been open about everything: my anxiety, my therapy, my life, but there's a line between curiosity and piling on." Viewers could see Craig's expression shift from relaxed to cautious. He nodded empathetically, but the damage was underway. Kelly's passion ignited further as she recounted a recent tough week, where family demands clashed with production schedules, and how the media twisted every story. Craig interjected gently, suggesting that open dialogue helped fans connect, but Kelly shot back, "Dialogue is great until it feels like an interrogation." The exchange grew heated, voices overlapping slightly, the usual Today Polish cracking under the pressure. Co-anchors exchanged glances off-camera, sensing the shift. Kelly's face flushed, her gestures more animated, as she defended her right to set boundaries without being labeled difficult. This was no longer a puff piece, it had become a raw confrontation about respect, media scrutiny, and the toll of fame. The audience in the studio held their breath, phones secretly recording, As the fireworks built toward an inevitable explosion, what happened next would leave everyone stunned, replayed endlessly across social media, and debated in headlines for weeks. The tipping point arrived in a flash. Craig, perhaps trying to lighten the mood or regain control, referenced a viral clip from Kelly's own show where she playfully roasted a guest. "See, Kelly, you're no stranger to tough questions, so you give as good as you get," he said with a chuckle. But for Kelly, it felt like the final straw. Her eyes narrowed, and she fired back, "That's different, Craig. That's entertainment. This feels personal, like you're digging for dirt because the headlines sell." The studio fell silent. Craig attempted to clarify, insisting he was just asking what fans wanted to know, but Kelly was already rising from her seat, microphone still clipped to her dress. "You know what? I'm done. I've shared enough today." Her voice cracked with emotion, not anger alone, but a mix of hurt and exhaustion. She unclipped the mic with deliberate calm, placed it on the table, and walked off the stage right past the cameras, through the stunned crew, and out of Studio 1A. The broadcast cut abruptly to a commercial, but the damage was done. Viewers at home gasped. Social media erupted instantly with hashtags like #KellyWalksOff and #TodayDrama. Clips circulated within minutes, showing the exact moment Kelly's face changed from composed to resolute. Backstage, producers scrambled, while Craig sat momentarily frozen, his usual poise shattered. He later addressed it briefly on air, saying the interview had taken an unexpected turn and that he respected Kelly's boundaries. But the internet had already made up its mind. This was an explosion, a star finally pushing back against the relentless probing of morning TV. Kelly, in her dressing room, reportedly took deep breaths, surrounded by her team, as calls flooded in from friends, family, and fellow celebrities. Some praised her for standing up, others wondered if it signaled bigger troubles ahead for her show. The walk-off became instant legend, a proof that even icons have limits, and when crossed, they won't hesitate to protect themselves. The Today Show, usually a haven of positivity, had just witnessed its most raw, unfiltered moment in years. In the aftermath, the fallout spread like wildfire across every platform. Fans dissected every second of the clip, analyzing Kelly's body language, Craig's tone, and the unspoken context of industry pressures. Supporters flooded Kelly's social media with messages of solidarity, "Queen standing up for herself," and "We see you, Kelly, protect your peace." Critics, however, accused her of overreacting, claiming morning show interviews were meant to be candid. Craig, known for his professionalism, issued a statement through NBC expressing regret that the conversation had upset Kelly and reaffirming his admiration for her talent and strength. Behind closed doors, executives at NBC reportedly held emergency meetings, weighing the PR hit against the massive viewership spike the incident generated. Kelly's team released a brief note. Kelly appreciates the opportunity to speak openly, but today highlighted the need for mutual respect in these spaces. She's focusing on her music and loved ones. The drama fueled endless speculation of would this strain relations between the Kelly Clarkson show and NBC. Were there deeper issues at play, like contract negotiations or burnout? Pundits on entertainment news shows debated the ethics of probing celebrities' personal lives, with some calling it a turning point for how morning programs handle guests. Kelly, ever the resilient performer, returned to her own set days later, addressing the moment in her signature honest style during Kelly Oak, singing a cover that subtly nodded to empowerment and boundaries. Viewers tuned in record numbers, hanging on her every word. Craig, meanwhile, continued anchoring with his trademark grace. Though fans noted a more cautious approach in subsequent interviews, the incident became a cultural touchstone, sparking conversations about mental health in the spotlight, the pressure on women in entertainment, and the fine line between journalism and intrusion. What started as a simple sit-down had evolved into a defining moment, reminding everyone that stars are human, and sometimes, enough is enough. As weeks turned into months, the explosion took on a life of its own in pop culture lore. YouTube reaction channels analyzed frame by frame, podcasters devoted entire episodes to the timeline of events, and memes flooded timelines with Kelly's walk-off captioned "When you've had enough." Kelly herself leaned into the narrative positively, releasing a new single with lyrics about self-worth and walking away from toxicity, which fans immediately linked to the Today moment. In interviews, she spoke vaguely about the importance of knowing when to step back, saying, "Sometimes silence speaks louder than words or walking away does." Craig, gracious as ever, appeared on other programs, acknowledging that live TV could lead to misunderstandings and expressing hope for reconciliation. Rumors swirled about a private conversation between the two, perhaps mediated by mutual NBC contacts, aimed at clearing the air. The incident even inspired think pieces in major outlets about the evolution of daytime television, questioning whether the anything goes interview style was outdated in an era of heightened awareness around emotional labor. For Kelly's fans, it solidified her as an authentic voice and unafraid to show vulnerability or draw lines. Her show ratings actually climbed in the following quarter, proving that authenticity, even when messy, resonates. Craig's reputation remained intact. Most saw him as doing his job, though some called for more sensitivity training for anchors. The Today Show incorporated subtle changes, more pre-interview check-ins with guests, a greater emphasis on positive stories. Ultimately, what could have been a career-damaging scandal became a powerful example of boundary setting in real time. Kelly Clarkson didn't just walk off a set, she walked into a broader dialogue about respect, fame, and the human cost of entertainment. The moment lingered, a reminder that behind every polished broadcast lies real people with real limits. Looking back, the Kelly Clarkson-Craig Melvin heated interview stands as one of those rare, unscripted television events that transcend the medium. It wasn't manufactured drama for ratings, it was organic, raw, and revealing. In an industry that often demands perfection and perpetual openness, Kelly's decision to say enough and physically remove herself from the conversation was revolutionary. It empowered others in the public eye to prioritize their well-being over performative politeness. Craig, to his credit, handled the fallout with class, never disparaging Kelly and focusing instead on the bigger picture of mutual understanding. The two never publicly feuded again, and whispers suggested a quiet resolution, perhaps over a phone call or a shared laugh at a future event. The Today Show moved forward, stronger for the lesson, while Kelly continued to thrive via releasing music, hosting her show, and reminding the world that vulnerability and strength can coexist. Fans still reference the moment fondly, calling it the walk-off heard round the world. It sparked think pieces, TED Talk-style discussions, and even inspired fan art depicting Kelly as a warrior queen leaving the battlefield. In the end, what began as a potential disaster became a triumph of authenticity. Kelly Clarkson exploded not in rage, but in self-preservation, proving that sometimes the most powerful statement is simply walking away. The interview may have ended abruptly, but its impact echoed far beyond the studio lights, forever changing how we view celebrity, media, and the courage it takes to stand up for oneself on live television. A single moment of tension became a lasting legacy of empowerment.